Shalom, welcome to Challenging Torah. Our challenge this week is Moses' challenge. What happens when we beg for something and we don't get it? Vitchanan. The word literally means to throw yourself at someone, in this case God's, mercy, and ask for chen, for grace. Moses begins this Torah portion by saying, "And I pleaded with the Lord," Vitchanan, at that time, saying, "O Lord God, you have begun to show your servant your greatness and your mighty great hand." When asking for something, always better to, a little butter up the deity first. "For what God in heaven and earth can do according to your works and according to your might." I can see God yawning. "I beg you, let me go over to the good land that is beyond the Jordan, the goodly mountain region in the Lebanon. But the Lord was angry with me," he recounts, "for your sakes, and said, 'Let it suffice you. Rav lacha,' are literally the words. 'That's enough. Speak to me no more of this question. Get up to the north of the Pisgah, and lift up your eyes westward and eastward and northward and southward, and behold it with your eyes, for you shall not go over this Jordan. But charge Joshua, and encourage him, and strengthen him, for he shall go over with these people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which you see.'" Wow. It always seems so unfair. Rav lacha, that's enough. And I always, every time I read this Torah portion, hear the strains of the Rolling Stones of my youth in back of me. "You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need." Even Moses doesn't always get what he wants. And it's always been a mystery to me why this portion, which holds the key, the essence of all of Judaism, like a jewel at the center. This is the portion that has a repetition of the Ten Commandments, the Shema and the V'ahavta. Why does it start out with Moses begging and losing and being turned down? Told only Joshua will lead them into the land. Moses can't resist the moment of guilt. After all, this is Israelites. It is a Jewish community here. So he reminds them, "The Lord was angry with me for your sakes and swore that I would not go over the Jordan. It's all your fault. And I should not go into this good land, which the Lord your God is giving as an inheritance to you." And he reminds the assembly, all of them standing in front of him as he launches into what is really his second great speech. "The Lord made this covenant, not with your fathers, but with us, all of you who are standing alive here this day." Moses reminds them that the first time around they didn't want to hear it, and he was the intermediary. But now, as he repeats these 10 commandments, they hear, they listen. "I am the Lord your God," etc., etc., etc. There are very few changes in this repetition. Shabbat, at first they were to remember. Now they need to observe. There are going to be actions that are associated with these commandments. That's how we remember. "Hear," he says, and we must listen and hear. "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Shema Yisrael." It's an active verb. You gotta hear it. Shema Yisrael, that's the mantra that we say when we go to sleep. We teach it to our children. We have it hung on banners in our synagogue. Any Jew knows enough to say the Shema, which affirms the unity of God. Adonai, that God that we think of as transcendent. Eloheinu, the God that is inside of us. It's all one. And How are we supposed to access this God? We need to listen. And we not only need to listen with our ears and understand with our head, but it's about b'kol levavcha, with all of your heart. V'b'kol nafshecha v'kol me'odecha. As we begin to say v'ahavta, with love, you are to do this. Yes, you may show up b'yirah, in fear, but ultimately we are to serve God in love and pass that love on to our children. Levavcha, with all of your hearts, really. There are two bets in levavcha, which is not the way you usually write it. And so the sages have a field day with it. Is it the heart that, like ventricles and oracles? And is it two tablets that make a heart, according to the Me'or and Naim, one of the Hasidic commentators? Is it our Yetzer HaTov, our good inclination, v'Yetzer Hara, our difficult, sometimes evil inclination? It's all of it. But there isn't really a duality. It is one. It is one God. It is one essence of heart, being, hearing, two ears, one understanding, one heart. And so, even though our own personal stories sometimes don't have the ending we want, God, I begged you, I asked you. Now you have to beg. Sometimes people are very ill and we make a last-ditch attempt to beg even when they're not going to get better. But this is b'kol me'odecha, with all of your force and your being. You are to be engaged with this story. Risk it. Beg again. Moses takes a risk of looking stupid, and he does. God says, Rav lecha. Rav lecha. You have enough. But we will still ask. And then if the answer is no, well, if you try sometimes, you might find you get what you need. Keep your hearts open. Shema Yisrael. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shabbat Shalom.